presently Friday, August 21st, 2026. And I trust, hope, and pray that wherever you are in the world that you are well, mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to just go ahead and dive on into the read today, okay? Just dive on in. We're going to start with getting a chakra alignment message. No intro. I'm processing so much information right now. I just really want to see, what the energy says. This is our Make It Make Sense collective reading and energy forecast. We just had a beautiful thunderstorm. And yeah, I'm hoping the sun comes back out so I can, sit outside and get some fresh air and sun. Thank you, Divine Source, for clear and direct messages, insight, and guidance to support us in this energy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, 144 on the timer with abundance. Yep, that was abundance. It's the Divine Collective, 144,000 maybe. Jesus. Okay, we got cards flying. That's the Truth, 23. Okay, fire and water. Alchemizing some energy. And then we got 29 here with 11, spiritual awakening. Okay. So I'm hearing someone or someone's, maybe some chosen ones, are becoming aware of their spiritual gifts and abilities that allow them to be able to alchemize energy, okay? I'm also hearing people are seeing where they're able to see things more clearly and interpret what they are seeing, with their spiritual, their third eye. I'm hearing some third eye activations that have come from some purification work. We know that purification comes from, fire, water, okay? Hydrotherapy, boiling water, most definitely allowing some people to see truths that they may have not been able to see, recognize, appreciate, or accept, whether those truths be about themselves or, their environment, their circumstances, connections or relationships, however that makes sense. Okay. Again, pardon the background music in advance. It's not me, it's the neighbors and, outside. I see why people live off the grid though. Buy land and, build a home in the middle of nowhere. I get it. we got here? Oh, well, we got love here. Number 18, Psalms the 9. Okay. A little bit of love. This could be self-love. This could be love for another person. This could be love for what it is that you do. Okay. This could be twin flame love. This could be some passion and desire, being birthed or reborn, I'm hearing, within you. I heard fire and desire. Okay, that might be somebody's jam. Somebody's jam. Alright, so our crowning energy is truth, spiritual awakening, and love. Clarify truth. Insight messages to clarify truth, spiritual awakening, and love. What's that Carl Thomas song about rain? Okay, we got number 2 with possibilities here with an eagle. Okay, I'm hearing Grand Canyon, mountains, elevating one's perspective. Someone may feel like they're flying, okay? From whatever revelations or new spiritual gifts that they're tapping into. It has them feeling very elevated, I was trying to see if that sun was rising or setting, but it could be either or. So you could be seeing sunrises and sunsets, maybe watching them, okay? Maybe traveling via air and seeing different regions, different territories, and subsequently expanding your horizons, expanding your perspective, your perception. Someone may be going hiking or has done something like that recently. Took a family vacation or a trip to, I said the Grand Canyon, but some mountain somewhere. With that clarifying truth, I'm also getting something about some sort of volcano eruption. With the water, this could have been hurricanes, so there's still hurricane season. Someone could be experiencing inclement weather in their region, maybe recovering from some sort of extreme weather conditions. And having experiences that were eye-opening, life-changing. We have the source, okay? So someone has tapped into their God energy, okay? The God mind, for sure. With this elevated perspective. I'm hearing Christ consciousness, okay? Someone may be studying ancient teachings. We have divine wisdom is the next card here, okay? Another 9, okay? So someone has gained some new level of confidence, wisdom, willpower, self-esteem, someone has graduated from being the student to becoming a teacher. I'm hearing a master teacher with the source. Also with these possibilities, this could be someone who travels to teach. So someone could be going to doing seminars and workshops and speaking in front of, students who are currently going through the awakening process and seeking greater, understanding of what it is that they're experiencing or have experienced. I'm hearing Kanye West, Jesus Walks. Sometimes I don't feel like singing when I'm channeling songs, so I'll just mention them. But I'm mentioning them because someone should probably go listen to them. They might, get a message from the song itself. And that's whether it's a song, a piece of literature, a book, or something like that. With source here, with love, I'm hearing God is love. What scripture is that? I'm going to look that up real quick. The primary verse stating God is love are found in 1 John 4:8 and 1 John 4:16, which explains that God's very nature is love and called believers to love one another. John 1st 4:8, whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 John 4:16, and so we know and rely on the love God has for us. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. 1 John 4:19, we love because he first loved us. John 3:16, that's the one I was looking for. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. That was the one. Romans 5:8, God demonstrates his love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Okay, so any one of those or all of those can make sense for who it makes sense for, but with this spiritual awakening, we're learning and gaining a better understanding of what is love, okay? How we can do that better. We're learning, the action word that describes love, which is compassion, okay? That's love in action. We have morality, okay? Morality with love. I'm looking up everything because we got the book here, Divine Wisdom, so, of course I channel and get my own messages, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to get another perspective. Morality is a system of rules, values, and beliefs that guide people on what is right and wrong. It helps individuals decide how to act and treat others so that a community can live together in peace. Within culture and society, groups of people agree on shared habits and rules. Religion, sacred texts, and faith teachings offer clear guides for good behavior. And for personal reflection, individuals use empathy and reason to judge choices. Key ideas are right and wrong, virtues, and change over time. Okay? I'm not sure if that's the King or the Queen of Swords, but one of them is like a judge-like energy, okay? With that, it gives me Mayat, okay? So if you're not familiar with the 42, I believe it's 42 laws of Mayat, you could find value potentially in, becoming more familiar with those. Earlier I was going to mention, as far as other sacred systems, teachings, and so forth, I'm hearing Hermetics, that came up and I didn't say it earlier when I was thinking about sacred teachings, so Hermeticism, okay? Hermeticism is an ancient, esoteric, religious, and philosophical tradition based on writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure combining the Greek god Hermes and Egyptian god Thoth. It focuses on the unity of the cosmos, the mind's role in reality, and personal spiritual transformation through divine knowledge. And we got divine wisdom here. I'll be getting these messages for a reason, and I'm just glad I know when to look it up to get further insight. The core principles: mentalism. The universe is fundamentally mental. We've all heard all is mind, okay? The correspondence, as above, so below, meaning patterns repeat across all planes of reality. Vibration and polarity. Everything moves. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. And then we have rhythm and causation. Life operates in cycles. Every cause has an effect and nothing happens by chance. So this most definitely is taking me back to yesterday's divine partnership reading. Okay, most definitely a continuation. We're learning some important concepts and principles that may be of value for us to, you know, get into studying and becoming more familiar of, and, you know, maybe incorporating in our teachings, depending on who our students are, okay? With, you know, I got 144,000, that sounds like master students graduating eventually to become master teachers, if that hasn't transpired yet. But with the first card coming out being truth here, 23, got a 2 here with possibilities to clarify it, okay? So this could be 223, 232, angel numbers. But, you know, making sure that we know how to properly use our energy, our spiritual gifts, that we're using these, this access, you know, responsibly, so that we're not breaking any spiritual laws, okay? Because that's very important, okay? Making sure we're within bounds, you know, like sports, or sports is your thing, making sure that, you know, if you're doing things like protecting yourself, protecting your energy, protecting, you know, your resources, your loved ones, your community, and things of the sort, you become aware that, you know, you can alchemize and, you know, do some things that everybody can't, or everybody, you know, is not aware of their ability to be able to do these things. Making sure that you're managing said power, you know, responsibly, you know, is important. Muy importante. Sí. We got completion here, okay? That means, you know, some dots are being connected. You know, somebody got the missing piece to the puzzle that they needed, you know, to just all the way wake up. You woke. Now that you woke, you know, what you gonna do with all that wokeness? You know, you're getting revelations of, you know, things like your purpose and your mission, you know, how you gonna move forward and doing the real work now that the training wheels is coming off. Let's lighten this up since we got love here and get some hidden truth oracle messages. Lighten it up a little bit. I'll be getting serious when I be getting serious. Lord, I'm like, bring it back. Bring it back. Watching me, watch you, watching you, watch me. I mean, hey, I see you with your tinted windows. I am not available. I don't know who needed that message, but somebody needed it. Somebody's like, yeah, with the possibilities, and you know, I'm busy right now. I'm figuring out life, what matters, what's of value, what is of importance, and what isn't. We need to let each other go. Okay? So, somebody has explored their options or weighed their options with the truth on the scale, with the ego clarifying that, you know, they have done some traveling, some soul seeking, you know, got some further like insight, and again, Revelations is coming up. Somebody might need to read Revelations from the Bible, you know, that book. But with that, they're separating themselves. This could be from one person or from multiple people. Okay, we need to let each other go. It's like either a conversation that's being had or a conversation that needs to be had, you know, respectfully and responsibly, of course. Somebody recognizes, you know, they have some very important work to do, and if someone's not in alignment with that work that needs to be done, or the people, you know, this could be in a romantic nature, in a relationship or commitment. This could be, you know, a community, you know, where someone may be of importance in a certain community or position or job, and it's time for their, you know, we talk about graduating, but there's also sometimes people need to retire or, you know, step down, however this resonates. Okay, beautiful. With spiritual awakening and source, we have I am grateful for the spiritual lesson. Okay. So this could be the same or separate energy. But with that being said, someone is very grateful for, you know, the wisdom, the insight, you know, the development that has been gained from an experience, from a connection, from a relationship, and they recognize that a person, a group, a job or career, a business, you know, a team, an opportunity that it was of great value because of what was learned, what was experienced, that a person is able to walk away with, and take with them to be able to reference, for whatever it is that they do in the future. Um, but also for their own development, their own personal, professional, and spiritual development, because we have spiritual awakening, the source, and spiritual lessons. Somebody has a much deeper connection with the Most High God, with Source, and they are grateful for that, even if it came with, you know, discomfort, which in most cases, spiritual awakening comes from like dark night of the souls, and you know, um, having to leave your comfort zone and start thinking and seeing things for outside of the box, and all of that is very uncomfortable, okay? Especially when, the majority, the collective, most people, the larger collective, because we have percentiles that a lot of times we find ourselves in, You could be the masses, about a good 90 something percent. Then you can be in the top, 5 to 7% of people, you know. Then you could be in, another level, about top 3% of people, in the human race, and then about 1%, and then you go as low as 0.1%, okay? The 0.01%, We can look at this from the perspective of money, finances, success, as far as earners and class, classifications, you know. But we can also look at it from awareness, knowledge, understanding, percentiles as far as where, you can be classified as well, okay? So, this centerpiece here is someone that's grateful because they recognize that they're definitely not in the herd, and the, big 90 percentile anymore. They left that a long time ago, and life was real ever since they left it. But then, that 5 to 7%, maybe 9%, depending on what we're looking at. We look at the pyramids too. We can look at Maslow's hierarchy, for example. The closer you get to the top of the pyramid, the smaller the sections are, okay? So when we look at corporations and their structures, you have most of your workers and employees, your entry-level positions, that occupy the bottom. You have the majority there, the percentile. And then you go up to the next level. I'm jumping all over the place because I'm talking to, it's a collective reading, whatever resonates and makes sense, you're going to know, what's for you, or what's a refresher or reminder, however that goes, okay? I'm throwing out a whole bunch of tools and books and sources that one can go do their individual research and, do what they need to do with that, okay? Them pyramids, okay? Them structures, them percentiles, all that. Then at the top, you got the HN or HB, IC, the head person in charge, or head people in charge, okay? That's in You know, I'm seeing the Hierophant in the tarot deck in my head, so that could be government, you know, religion, you know, education, you know, and business structures. You got pyramids everywhere, triangles everywhere. Matter of fact, let me see what. Okay, so castles was on the top, and then there's our pyramid. Would you believe I got this dice in a Chick-fil-A kids meal? I'm not promoting Chick-fil-A or their kids meals either, but that's where I got this from many moons ago, years ago. And I've held on to it because, you know, sometimes like that, it just makes sense to roll the dice and see what you see. I lost myself for a while, okay? So whoever is grateful for the spiritual lesson, you know, you may be reconnecting with, or um, let me start here, reconnecting with someone or people that you may have been disconnected from. I'm hearing you may have gone into like a hermit mode, became a recluse, you know, just head down, studying, trying to get a greater understanding of whatever it is that you were studying, you know, or figuring out, you know, who you are and your purpose and your desires and your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, just becoming a more self-aware individual so that you could be the better part of a collective or a union or whatever it is that's in the cards for you, okay? Or the the big good book for you, or what's already been written for you, however that goes. Okay, whatever you believe, that's your business. But with the I lost myself for a while, I'm feeling like you may be feeling the need to explain yourself to, you know, some people maybe, or a person, and just trying to, you know, let them know, like, look, I didn't even know what I was dealing with or going through, you know. Every day it was something new and something different that I was just trying to process and manage to the best of my abilities in my mind, you know. With the New Earth, have you heard of that? Eckhart Tolle, you know, the same one that wrote The Power of Now. So, you know, I was a little different all my life. I've been trying to, you know, figure out the spiritual world of things, you know, and I got tired of being misjudged or, you know, all that type of stuff, you know, misunderstood. So retreating made the most sense. That, you know, the phoenix has risen, you know, the Most High God has shown me, you know, how much the great I am that I am, Exodus 3:14 energy resides within me, within my vessel, within my temple. And, you know, as long as I'm in alignment with that, I am that, you know, now that I've gotten a greater understanding of that, I'm able to articulate that or, you know, exude that better. I found myself. So I was lost. Now I'm found. And I'm grateful for all the spiritual lessons that came with the growth. Now, are you still my friend or not? Do you still love me or do you not? Or you just want to, you know, judge me and you know, say I'm crazy. Either way, I'm cool. I'm just asking you. So I know how to move forward while I'm cleaning out my contact list and updating my, you know, relationship manager, you know, list. Do I need your current phone number, email, and birthday or not for, you know, whatever it may be needed for in the future? I'm neutral, but I'm just asking. That's this energy. Y'all see my gray hair? Child. When I took these twists out my hair earlier during the thunderstorm and a training presentation with a phenomenal new partner that our company aligned with, I was like, I went and looked in the mirror. I said, child, my afro is flowing. Got excited, honey. No clip-ins, no, nothing. It's a little dry, a little bit, but yeah, it's me. It's me. This is me, honey. All natural, no chemical, no color. Grays that I earn. All right, this ain't experience black. This is make it make sense. My bad. But this is what's underneath them beautiful custom wigs and hijabs and head wraps, whatever you see me in. Or hats. I wear many hats, don't I? Okay, I'm starting to understand our connection. Ooh. I like this shift in energy. So that's clarifying the love and the morality. Okay? I'm starting to understand our connection. So after walking away from people, places, situations, opportunities, that were out of alignment with who we have become and who we are becoming, because as long as we living, we learning and we growing and evolving, hopefully, if you're doing it right. So with that being the case, you have to sometimes acknowledge that and appreciate that and respect that and admit when you didn't know what you didn't know when you didn't know. So I'm starting to understand our connection, for those who accept it. Because I don't feel like you need to apologize for, spiritual evolution and growth. The people who are for you, the people who are your real ride or dies, the people who respect you and love you for you, at your greatest and your best, at your average and your mediocre, and when life is kicking your butt and you're at your lowest. If the love is real and it's unconditional, and there's that empathy and compassion that them scriptures, talked about, that we opened up with, then, those are folks. And, you hold on tight to them because that's real love. And, with the conversations that transpire or, with the connections, like, look, I've gone through many seasons through this journey of elevating and growing. And certain points, just like, let's use traditional school for an example. You go from preschool to kindergarten. You have a graduation ceremony with a little cap and gown. And then you go from kindergarten to first grade, and, that's elementary school era. And then you go from elementary school, depending on where you're at. I went to intermediate school, up north in United States, in the northeast coast in Delaware. It was a little special, like Spanish speaking focus school. I don't know if that's why it was called intermediate, because it was international, but we had diversity for sure. I had some Indian friends, Patels. There was a lot of them, in our school. Then we had, the Caraballos and the Morellos, great Hispanic population, Then we had a couple of, Asians as well. So it was very international. So I don't know if that was why it was called intermediate, but nonetheless, you go from elementary to middle, you know, then middle to high, and some people go for some college, and then some people go for, the 2-year college. Hold up, I skipped with college. Sometimes we go to trade school, vocational technology schools, to get specific skills and education. But either way, there's a evolution, a graduation, from one to the next. Okay? Then with college, there's levels to that. You have your 2 years, your 4 years, your masters, your bachelors, your bachelors, your masters, your doctorates, your PhDs. There's levels to everything, And hopefully if you go through all that timing and, learning and passing them tests and graduating, when it comes to them pyramids, that you also elevate in there, mentally, spiritually, and financially. I ain't scared to talk about that around here. Okay. But it ain't come up on the table yet, so we talk about spiritual matters here, primarily. I'm starting to understand our connection. So, whether that is someone letting you know that they see you, they understand you, they appreciate you, they admire you, they respect you, and they're learning from you, or you're explaining that to someone that you care to explain that to. Either or. I'm getting that energy here. So this could be like reconciliation type of energy, okay? Ooh, definitely reconciliation type of energy. You came closer to me, or you came closer than anyone, and just being near you is intoxicating. This is under love and morality. So this most definitely supports our divine partnership reading from yesterday. I said that yesterday's reading was for the champs, the big dogs, those who, have done that work and have aligned with their divine counterpart or aligning. And, this is that. I said that love, that heart, that could be twin flame, especially with the truth and the scales, individuals who have done the true inner work, that which can't be taken away. Okay? Even, when God decides it's their time to, leave this plane of existence and, go to the next and do that graduation. Even then, what's in them is going with them as far as that wisdom and, understanding and insight. And that's how, when they become an ancestor or an angel, they're able to connect with those who connect with their energy and get that guidance, that divine wisdom. Okay, and on the bottom of the deck, I want to be more than friends. Love is in the air. That's what the cards say. That's what the cards say. Let's get a couple of Soul's Journey affirmations here. I can't never make it up. I said this is about to be that message, and I saw peace, and here it goes with freedom. Child, I felt it. I love that because no one has to believe me. I just felt it, and I saw it, and here we go. Peace and freedom. And yesterday, in our Divine Feminine sector, our keywords from our Egyptian tarot deck, we got the Death card and we got the Emperor. And the keywords were both peace and freedom was there. I love that. I absolutely love that. And we have the synchronicity where, I'm hearing there's freedom to speak truth, okay? Someone's at peace with their truth not being accepted, respected, appreciated, everywhere they try to share it, and that's okay. That's when you have a inner peace and you recognize and Christ consciousness energy, with Jesus, walks. That's why that came up. That if we live in a world that, I don't know how accurate that is, but, Christianity is supposed to be one of the, newer but leading religions. But in Christ, Jesus Christ, everybody ain't like Jesus. Everybody ain't like Jesus. A lot of us love Jesus, but everybody ain't love or like Jesus. Otherwise, the story with the cross wouldn't have been the story with the cross. Okay? So, with that being said, if everybody didn't like and love Jesus, who are you to think everybody's going to like and love you? Is the message I got here. But that ain't to stop you. That ain't going to stop you, though, from giving them that good work, them good words, that good knowledge, that good wisdom, them good teachings, that good guidance, understanding, awareness. Our affirmation for peace is, I am a being of love and I release all negative energy. That's that alchemizing, Let it go. like Frozen. Or was it Elsa in Frozen? Freedom. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. Taking back your power, you know. Rocking with the ones that rock with you and the ones that don't, you know. Love them from a distance or don't. Willpower and free will means that's your decision. That's your personal business. And that's it. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and close out. We didn't make this too long today. With our angels of abundance guidance. Positivity, faith, and optimism. Okay? And I see God as your source peeking out with cooperation instead of competition. Okay? If they come out, they're going to come out. But, you know, you open the doorway to positive experiences and opportunities with your positive expectations and energy. Do not allow negative energy or temporary setbacks to interfere with the path that you are on. Keep the faith and keep going. Okay, angels, just go ahead and reiterate what I just said. Thank you. All right. We have let go of guilt and quiet retreat. Okay. Let go of guilt. When you allow your light to shine brightly, you inspire others. Forgive yourself for what you think you've done or not done, and trust that God loves you unconditionally for who you are. Learn and grow from past mistakes instead of berating yourself for them. Again, thank you for reiterating the message. Quiet retreat. It's time to disconnect from the outer world so that you can discern and process your true thoughts and feelings from the inner world. Create this quiet time for yourself and you'll have more clarity about what to do next. And on the bottom of the deck we have pay yourself first. Okay? Lovely angel here reminding you about money specifically. Make yourself your most important financial obligation by setting aside a portion of your income every time you are paid. This loving form of self-care ensures that you'll have savings to invest in your present and your future. All right, and anybody interested in something like that, I'm about that life. I offer, you know, what we call a complimentary financial needs analysis. Okay, so anyone who wants to get a better understanding or, you know, a better picture of where they stand when it comes to their financial matters, you know, looking at different categories from, you know, your income, your debts, your expenses, you know, whatever investments you may have and that type of stuff. I would love to, you know, have a conversation with you. If you would like to have a conversation with me to get a nice, beautiful breakdown on, you know, those details for yourself and, you know, some recommendations according to the outcome, okay? So if you're somebody that has all that under wraps or you have people that do that for you, good job, okay? But if you're not, then I have myself and people that are like myself. Different personalities, different backgrounds. We may look a little different, but we have the same passion. You know, we're on the same crusade of, you know, helping people in this arena. So whether you want to work with me or somebody else that I could potentially recommend you to, that may speak your language a little bit better, listen, I ain't no gatekeeper. I love supporting other people and seeing other people win. And I know that if I can refer someone to somebody phenomenal, then they'll be likely to do that for me when it makes sense to do so. So with that being said, that's it. And we're gonna drop it off here. Make sure you have a phenomenal rest of your day. This is the weekend, so if you catch this weekend, make sure you have a phenomenal weekend on purpose. Till next time. Peace, love. Hold up. I remixed it. I had a remix. I had to remix it because, you know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't remix it. Peace, blessings with a little bit of love sprinkled on top. All right. Till next time.